All right, Tom, we have an agenda to get to on this talk, but I wanted to do justice to some good responses and address those. You ready? You're ready. Okay. You got your mouth full of
Always,
water.
always.
All right. Terry Johnson said to this question, I remember this so clearly. Now I know Terry, he lives in Australia. He's got a life insurance business. I love his story because he came into life insurance because he experienced what life is like when the provider for the family dies without life insurance. So he's the guy you want as your provider because he is fervent about it. He's a believer. He said, so I remember this so clearly. When I first started my business, his insurance business, I engaged with a referral partner whose office was located 3 hours from my office. It was an overnight stay whenever I went there. I visited them each a couple weeks for he actually says fortnight. Maybe that's an Australian thing. I had to look up what a fortnight is. It's 2 weeks. So I'm going to start using that with my kids. If it's 2 weeks away, it's a fortnight, guys. So I visited them each fortnight for almost 6 months to build trust and credibility via visibility with that referral office, with the bosses and the staff there. It was brutal and tested me. They eventually tested me with a couple small tests and test cases, and I proved my worth. Then the floodgates open. I got to keep turning up and be consistent if you want proper long-term business success. It may take a while, but just keep showing up, be resilient, and above all, keep asking the question. I like that. That's real world.
It doesn't get better than that.
Yeah.
I mean, the bottom line is we have an instant rice mentality in our world today.
Yes, we do.
And savvy business people, men and women who've been around the block a few times, who built relationships the right way. The first test is, how long are you going to keep knocking on my door? Because why would I give you a treasure not knowing your grit, your resilience, your staying power, your commitment, your follow through? And so a lot of times, in order to earn the opportunity, really the first test you got to pass is, hey, I'm showing up every time I say I'm showing up until I earn the right. And then when you give me the little test, I'll be there to perform. So,
yeah.
And it's, you know what else, Kevin, is this is a way that doesn't take a high IQ. It doesn't take any skill set of specific technical training. It doesn't take anything other than a relentless pursuit of following through. Mm-hmm. And that's an attitude. That's a choice. That's a discipline.
Okay. Well, let's just let the cat out of the bag of what I wanted to get to, because you kind of hit towards it right there in that. I mean, we know, who was it? Churchill, never, ever, 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 ever quit. And, we have books like Grit, and we have, these Navy SEALs like, Goggins and, Jocko, and this mentality. And so we hear that, and I get it. And I mean, you and I have businesses. I've done this. I've done the pump. You sitting there and banging away like in Zig's clip a minute ago. Having faith that it is going to work out and knowing it takes so much. And we did have so many people. I mean, Brandon Russell, he says, yeah, the most effort was from inception to the first dollar. We did 8 months worth of research and testing before our first customer. Jennifer, I did research for a month, then searched for the real estate, bought it, hired, renovations, 3 months before we actually even opened the door. So we had a lot of people, of course, respond to that of course, there's so much effort. Now you got a lot of effort to grow the business and whatever after that. We can talk about that in a second, but so we get that, you've got to persevere, you got to do it. And I like what you said, we're in this instant rice, this microwave culture, and maybe it makes it harder. I think I would say as a culture, we're more impatient like that. And there's so many business opportunities, as you know, with a low barrier to entry, right? I mean, we're not all going, okay, I'm going to start a business, and you got to go build, take out a huge loan, build a building and stock it and staff it and whatever. A lot of people, man, you can start business with hardly anything electronically like that. So got to persevere, got to have grit, got to push through. But then the real world issue hits, and you've been there and I've been there and we'll be there again, of going, okay, am I pumping away? Because I know it takes a lot of work. I got to stick with it. I'm going to have faith. because, well, I'll just own it, because I've also done that and realized the reason I'm not getting any water is because I'm doing it wrong. Or, the idea is not legit. Maybe the concept is, and I shouldn't quit on it, but man, the way that we came to market, how about starting there? I mean, you and I have both either done it or seen it. I've both come to market with something and we got it wrong. And so I guess, we're holding that. So I'm going to stick to it. Man, I do need to change. I need to quit banging on that pump maybe and find another pump. Is that a fair analogy?
100%. And at Ziglar, we have a performance formula that I love, and it will apply to this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you're starting something new. You're going to want to attack it full on around attitude, effort, and skill.
Mm-hmm.
It can't just be one of the three or two of the three. It has to be all three. If you're out there saying, you know what, I'm going to knock on more doors, I'm going to make more phone calls, I'm going to talk to more people than anybody in the history of the world, and it's all effort, 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 then it's going to be hard. You might be knocking on the wrong doors, right? You might be using the wrong skill when you get there. Your attitude's going to go up and down based on the last time you knocked on a door. If you're going to go the whole attitude route, hey, I'm going to be the most optimistic, upbeat person they've ever been around. They're going to enjoy the conversation, but you can't answer their tough questions, or you're not talking to enough people a day.
Yeah.
Good luck. And skill, it's what do I need to master to be a top-notch professional in this industry? And here's something else. Who else has already done it in this industry who I can seek out and learn from?
Yeah.
Right. So I got to do all of those. And so what happens then? Well, your activity level is high, your effort's high, you're maintaining your attitude with input, and then you're learning stuff every single day. So every time you make another attempt, you're at a different level, but you're also bouncing your results off of other people who've been there and done that. And you're reading the industry information, you're reading what's working and what's not working. You're finding that out. And people don't like that, because what people like to buy is leads that they call and they're actually customers.
Yeah.
There's no such thing. People don't mind calling people ready to buy. They just don't like calling somebody who might be capable of the purchase, but don't even know they need it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I like coming at it from that same thing. And then here's the great wisdom in this. What you're really becoming is an expert in relationships, a fantastic communicator, and you're getting on the inside of whatever your passion is in that industry. And let's just say you made a bad logical choice in the beginning. You thought A would work, and you prove over the next year that it doesn't work. Well, you're a completely new and different human being, so you can adjust. It's not like it's for nothing, because you learn so much in that process. I think whether it's Richard Branson or any other person who we all look up to as this huge, successful, constant entrepreneur, they'll tell you they learn more in the ones that didn't work than the ones that did. So the danger is doing nothing. The danger is sitting on your hands. The danger is settling for what's easy rather than what you're built for.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I wanted to hit on. I mean, because this analogy, of course, is great. We see so many people give up. And I know what Zig was talking about, but if we look at business efforts, that's what I've learned in the decades of doing business. I now go out and launch, and I'm always optimistic. I can't not be optimistic that we're going out. We have done our homework, we feel like, and sought counsel, and we go out and boom, launch and make the offering. And that's where I'm questioning do we make the offering in this way, right? If we don't see results, keep going and give it a reasonable amount of time. And maybe that's worth discussing. What's a reasonable amount of time, which is going to, depend on the business. But we do that. And if we're not getting results, we don't quit on the business. We keep pumping, but we may Gosh, what's a good analogy? Shift arms, one arm gets tired, shift the other arm, turn the pump around the other way, prime it again. We can play with the analogies. Maybe you've got one that's better, but I now come into business with kind of a phase one. I'm a big fan of that. Okay. Phase one, we're going to do this. And generally, and we're talking small business, come in with, okay, we're going to, put the investment in this, but let's be careful. I mean, we've talked about that, Tom, before, where, how many, especially in the past, how many business cards and letterhead ended up, as kindling for the fire. I mean, that is tragic, and the stuff that I did in the past. Oh my gosh, the money I spent on getting everything ready for this big rush. And then you put it out there and it's crickets. And I've learned now to minimize my investment. Let's come out. Now we're committed, but let's come out and be flexible with how we come out. Let's see how it goes. And if it doesn't produce, then let's shift. I mean, this is kind of your A/B testing, that people have gotten used to more online. That's hard to do when you build a new restaurant, you have your menu, you have your tables, and you open the door. If nobody comes in, you don't just easily change everything, a new menu, a new atmosphere, a new whatever. But for most of us in the online world, and even there's things you can change. How did you promote it? Who did you promote to? We can look at that. So again, we're going to keep pumping over here, but what do we say, Tom? The methodology of how you're pumping can definitely, I think that's what we need to be ready for, is be ready to shift. Though even there, you need to watch out. I was going to say accused. That's such a bad word, but I am too quick to change. I'll come out, we put it out there, we don't get results. I'm ready to change something. My wife calls it rearranging the furniture. I'm ready to rearrange the furniture immediately. And I've had people go, whoa, you haven't even given it time. Come on, now, just keep pumping there. So I need to have it there. So maybe there's a relevance to, coming out with let's say your business, your initiative, you're committed to it. You're going to see it through. You've got grit, you've got determination. You're going to do that, and you're going to pump, and you're not going to quit, but you may change the direction of your pumping. Is there a better analogy, Tom?
Wow. It's what you're really saying in somebody, a business consultant, we were talking, and he said, you really need to tie this down to the metrics.
Okay.
And I said, okay, what do you mean? And he said, well, that solution sounds good, but how do we measure it in business? Well, if you're building a business or you're starting a sales career, what are your metrics? What are we call them IPAs in the book, Choose to Win. What are your income producing activities? How many phone calls are you going to have to make in order to get a presentation, and in order to set an appointment to do a presentation? Then how many presentations are you going to have to give before you get a buy? Or, if you've got an online business, how many dollars are you going to have to spend on ads until you figure out one that drives traffic, who take a look? And then how many people take a look and do nothing versus, do the trial or buy or whatever that situation is. You've got to know your metrics before you start. You've got to know, okay, I'm going to make this amount of calls, and you're going to track it. And so you determine, hey, am I getting the right people there? Am I giving the right message when they get there? And when they say, I want more information, are they the qualified person I wanted at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I learned from Howard Partridge, our partner in our small business coaching, he is one of the best marketers I know. I had this same situation. I'm like, hey, let's do this and this and this and this. And he goes, you're going to make 5 changes on that. And I go, yeah. He goes, no, we're going to make one change and see how it performs against the last one. We need to know, are we getting closer to the bullseye or further away? If you make 5 changes and it works out great, you don't know which of the 5 was the game changer. And you don't know if you let go of something that you should have kept.
That's true. Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of people, they just go at it, but they don't have the metrics. They don't know They don't catalog the work they did to get the result. We were talking before we started the show. I don't know why, but prospectors and metal detecting and panning and all the stuff that people go and find gold do. Well, if you watch any of that stuff, they'll always, they'll find a place that looks like it's promising. They'll do some sample dirt out of it. They'll pan it and they'll see how much gold they get by weight. And so they'll say, how much gold did I get out of this per whatever the unit is? And if it reaches a threshold, they keep looking there. And if it doesn't, they try somewhere else.
Yeah.
But they've got the ratio. And so you've got to know the ratio. So whatever you're trying to break into, there are people who you can find and reach out to in the same business you're in, maybe in a different market, who you can get on the phone and pick their brain and build a relationship with, who can probably give you some good direction.
Yeah. I mean, this, I appreciate how you framed it there. There was a venture I did not too awfully long ago, I'm afraid to say, where we did the promotions, we put it out there and didn't get the results we want. I was ready to go, as my wife said, rearrange furniture, change the website. And then I remembered just what you said, metrics. And we checked with the website, Google Analytics, whatever, and realized it's not the website, or we don't even know that it's a website because we just haven't gotten many people in there. We got to go upstream there to the ad, to the promotion. And so to what you said, Tom, yeah, the metrics is so key. And again, we've got so many people, the majority, no matter what your business is, it's going to start at least online, if not only exist there. And the metrics are there. I mean, you can see and gauge that and be able to know quicker. It's good that you put that out there. You can know quicker where you need to shift for sure. So yeah, I think we've kind of delineated here that there's shifting in how we're doing the offering and what we're doing here, though back to the core message of Zig of keep pumping though, and not leave it. And we've seen, again, so many, and I'm afraid that, yeah, the price of entry being so low that people can go out there and they can just, they can put an effort in, not get the results, and they just quit. Now, I do like the ability to try though. I mean, I don't want to dissuade people from trying there. And I appreciate that the internet allows us to, without a huge investment, go out there and try something. And I do want people also to realize, as you're doing that, there's been a lot of people, Tom, I'm trying to think if I have a personal example for myself, and I'm not sure that I do, but I've seen a lot of people who get out there and put something out there, and regardless of whether it even works, they just learn about themselves and realize, you know what, this isn't quite all what I thought it would be. And I want those people, sometimes I'll see them stick though. I think, well, I've invested enough, kind of like the college degree thing, right? I got my degree, so I might as well do this career the rest of my life. Man, that's dangerous too. So I'd say be aware of that piece of yourself within it as well. But the Tom, I don't know if you remember, I've got an old pump, full size. It was literally, this is destiny. It was literally left on the property when we bought it. When we bought my property up here in the Rocky Mountains, it had an old camper and a well had been dug. So it had a wellhead. And I don't know if the guy had intended to or whatever, but it had this old red pump. And you've been to my dad, Dan Miller, to his place, the Sanctuary. I remember a picture of you with that pump. One of the most, you know what, that's actually worth just a quick deviation here on the subject. Is having Zig knocked out of the park with a classic, we'd call it a prop, but it was really a brand. He created a brand with that pump. I mean, today it's part of the Ziglar logo. That pump, it got me thinking about, I wasn't really thinking about talking about it for the show, but it got me thinking about, do we, for our efforts, have a brand? Now, when people talk about, I gotta preface that because my brother, Jared Angaza, who's a branding expert, he's going to be upset with me if I just say a brand is a logo, because it's not just your image. It's your whole feel. It's your whole ethos. It's what you are about, that people understand of you and what they want to associate with or not. So the brand is huge, but what do we call this? A graphic, an image. I mean, we all know the Nike logo, right? I mean, they don't have to even write the word Nike anymore. It's just a logo. Now, you may not end up with a business that big that needs brand recognition to that point, but it is important to go, gosh, is there anything memorable? Is there a hook about my business? I mean, we know Apple has the Apple, and it's hard. I'm trying to think of, can you do justice to a smaller example than some gigantic company that we all know the brand of? Gosh, I'm trying to think here in my local area. There was one I saw recently. I think it was at the farmer's market, my local farmer's market that my kids have had a booth in. I keep meaning to do a show about it. Anytime I post about it, people ask about it. But my kids, part of the formation of their existence is farmer's market. And they have a logo there that we know, you recognize it anywhere. Does your business have a hook, a visual hook, any kind of a hook, even an audio hook like Ziglar does with the pump? I know it's a little bit of a deviation, but it's an important one.
Yeah. So let me add on to that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk about the pump as a story and how it aligns with passion.
Okay.
So I was reading the story of a young businesswoman who was raising money for a nonprofit endeavor. I think it had something to do with water wells. And she had this business plan, and it was ingenious. And she was going to raise money, and she kept getting turned down, and she didn't know why. Because everything she did was made sense, right? I mean, the PowerPoint presentation, the numbers, everything was just fantastic. So she calls one of her mentors, and they said, well, share with me the last presentation. What'd you go over? So she did it. And he said, stop. Why are you doing this? And then she gave some gobbledygook, and he said, no, why did you start this business? And then uncork the passion. And he said, next fundraising, tell them why you do this. And they'll ask all the other questions.
Yeah.
Okay. So at Ziglar, our brand is the pump. And so anytime you see a gold pump pin on somebody, that is a Ziglar Legacy Certified Speaker, Trainer, and Coach. That's who it is. But here's what's interesting. People will ask you, what's that pump? Are you in the oil business? You know, probably half people say that. The other half say, that looks familiar. Is that Ziglar or something? Or what's the story behind that pump, right? They all say the same thing. And then everybody knows that you start the conversation off this way. Well, the story of the pump is the story of life. Have you ever used an old-fashioned water pump? And about half of the people over 40 will say yes, and the rest of them will say no. Well, great. In order to do an old-fashioned water pump, it gets water out of the ground. You got to prime the pump. You got to put some water in to get some water out. Life is the same way. You got to put something in to get something out.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what happens is, in the telling of the story, it ignites the passion inside. And remember, people are buying you. No matter what you sell,
Yeah.
the first purchase is you, right? Unless they come in and they're dying of thirst and there's one bottle of water in the whole city and you've got it, right?
Right.
We're probably buying the water. But most of what we do, they're buying us.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about our how long do we pump? If we pump long enough and hard enough, eventually the fruit will come forth, right? The water will start to flow. It's not only how long you pump, it's the passion with which you pump. It's like, if you've ever been to a place where there's people shining shoes, there's the shoe shine person who doesn't make much noise. And then there's the person over there popping and whistling and doing all that.
Yeah.
Right. Is the shoe shined any better because of the popping and whistling? No, it's all the show, but it attracts attention. And if somebody's popping and whistling, they're probably smiling. And if they're smiling, they're probably attractive, right? You want to be around that. So marketing. And so a lot of what we do, we get really wrapped up in the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. You can't do that. So I will take my pump pen and I will turn it sideways when I'm around people. And they will look at it and they'll tilt their head and they'll go, "Oh, your pen's not straight," and they'll lean in and they'll fix it.
I was looking for mine. I've got it back here behind me somewhere.
So what does that do? It lets me tell the story.
Yeah.
Right. Now, what's cool is sometimes the person who's fixing it is already they're a Zig fan, they're a customer, but there's usually other people around them who aren't. So I get to tell the story and I've got an audience. And so that's next level. That's where you take it to the next level. Is not only do you have the right attitude, but you also do the right effort, and you are constantly working on your skill as you prime the pump, as you grit, right? As you have resilience, as you go through the day. But the pump taps into the water. And remember, the water flows from the heart. It flows from the passion of what you do. And so you never want to lose that.
Well, I'm grateful for these conversations because they go directions that we weren't intending. And this is one there. That pump represents something for Ziglar that people want to associate with. And it's so great for us to think about with our business. I doubt many people listening have not at this point heard of Simon Sinek, who wrote the book, Start With Why, gosh, a decade ago. It's still one of the top all-time watched TED videos. If you by chance have not seen it, type in Simon Sinek, S-I-N-E-K, and actually just type in his name. You could type in why, but you'll find the video, the TED Talk that he did. But it's knowing not just what your business does, but why, and to think about what do you have as a part of your business that represents that why that people want to associate with. And on that, I want to bring up, we had John, I'm not quick enough to pull it up. We had John Ruhlin, Ruhlin, on the show. It's probably been a year or two ago. And he has a book called Giftology. The guy is a master of repeat and referral business. And one of the things he also talks about, though, is, because I wanted to bring the pump back to kind of the aspect of with your business. Would someone wear the t-shirt? Do they want to be associated with your business? Would they wear the t-shirt? And we all know that people who wear the Nike hat with the Nike symbol. Well, why are they promoting Nike? Well, they want to be associated with the just do it. I grew up in the South, man, and half the guys at my school had a John Deere cap. Why are they promoting John Deere? Somebody else went to a sporty school and they had Adidas, stuff that they're doing. People wanted to associate with that. However, I'm going to say that, and I would wear a shirt with a pump more than I would. Now I'm going to have to take myself out of the equation that I'm Kevin Miller, host of the Ziglar Show. If I'm just a regular, person out here, unassociated, the pump is more interesting than just saying Ziglar. And I'm going to put it back. The reason I mentioned John Ruhlin is he talks about, as we look at our brands and look at the things that we have as a part of our business that we are promoting with, that we want people to associate with. I don't know how many t-shirts I've gotten, literal story, t-shirts sent to me. I'm so sorry for those of you who did this and are hearing this now. But if your company is Blue Widgets and you send me this t-shirt that says Blue Widgets on it, why am I going to wear that? What story is that? What am I going to tell? Oh, that's interesting. Blue Widget. What's that? It's Blue Widgets. They sell blue widgets and I'm wearing the shirt. I don't need a shirt that much. I have unfortunately given a lot of new shirts to Goodwill, as opposed to one that says something on it that I want to associate, or has an image on it that has a good story behind it that I want to associate with. John is famous for sending Cutco knives to people. So I have an entire set of expensive Cutco knives. But what's interesting is when I pull the knives out, they have an engraving on them. That engraving does not say John Ruhlin. It does not say his company. It does not have his logo on it. It says Kevin and Terry Miller, custom engraved for Kevin and Terry Miller. So when people pull that, actually, they don't even have to pull it out. They come over. Sometimes they'll mention, nice knives. And I pull that out and say, hey, check this out. Look at that. And I tell the story about what? About John Ruhlin and his book Giftology and his company that does this. So, to be careful. Now, you have with Ziglar, with the pump, created an image that in and of itself does for the crowd that knows it. It stands alone. So I was gonna think, I don't have a pump shirt. We need a pump shirt or a
We
pump
need a
hat.
pump shirt. We need a pump shirt.
We do. We do. We'll work on that. Get a pump shirt because it has a story that I want to associate with, not just because it's Ziglar, but the pump. Now, you don't know the story about the pump? Okay, here it is. And I can tell it legitimately because I remember my grandparents who had an actual pump like that, but I can tell about it and say, man, that's business. And I do like to associate with business and entrepreneurs and tell that story. So that's worth the price of admission, just talking about the pump as a brand because of what it stands for, which is the message that we started off for. And this is just a brilliant show, Tom.
I know.
We're good.
Unbelievable.
It is. It's unbelievable. I don't have anything more to add to it. That was great. A lot of people did, again, just responded about, the starting that. Now we did have, you know what, I'll add one more thing here. We did have some people talk about, my gosh, starting it was hard, but continuing and growing it was just as hard as well. And, I get that, but generally it's a different world. I mean, when you're starting a business, you're generally more on your own, you're wearing more hats. Once it gets going, there's a lot to do. Though my little pushback, Tom, with that is often when I find people who have a successful business. Now, there are some that become workaholics and it owns them. And yet, well, for one, I'll say that those people, they were workaholics anyways. They did the same thing in their regular job, their corporate business. That's who they were anyways. They just brought it over to entrepreneurship. So I'm going to separate that out a little bit. But most of the people I find, they enjoy it. They're having fun. And so they want to put more in. It's not a drudgery of, oh my gosh, this stupid business that I started that's going like gangbusters. Oh, it's terrible. I'm working day in and day out. They may poke at it a little bit, but they're actually loving it. One or two, what I find out is like me, they also now are putting so much more time into their interests and personal life and family that now they're able to do in and amongst their work. They're able to bring their personal life and integrate it with their work. They're not going and clocking in. And this isn't just a pitch for self-employment and entrepreneurship being better than being an employee, but it is a piece of what I see, that I'll see people who maybe weren't allowed to integrate their life into their work as much. Now they come over here and they're able to. So when I put in a long day and it's, oh my gosh, 10 hours sitting at the desk or whatever, man, I spent some time, planning the next vacation, talking to the kids and texting them, looking at a new mountain bike part that I want because I can. I'm my own boss. So am I working the whole time? I've now integrated my life and it's made for beautifully busy. How's that? Is that fair?
That's fair. And I love the word integrated. I love that word because, it's an ebb and flow. It's, sometimes it's 10 hours a day. Sometimes it's just running smooth and we can just leave. We can go have some fun.
Yeah.
One of the things that we teach business owners is you build the business to sell and then you keep it. Meaning you grow it, you bring it out of its infancy, you get everything going, and then you develop leaders inside the business who can take over different functions to the point where you're not like Michael Gerber says, you're not working in your business, you're working on your business.
All right.
And a lot of people go, well, how do you do that? That's not possible. Or I love being a technician. I love doing the work. Well, even if you love doing the work, build it to sell. And then you can work when you want to. You can do the work when you want to. But how do you get to that level? The business, whatever you do, whether it's a career business, whatever your economic engine is, what's the why that drives it? What's the why that drives it? Because anytime it starts getting tough or it becomes a pain or, oh no, I got to learn something new or I got to fill that position or anything that is kind of off-putting, as soon as you understand what the why is, that gives you go back to your why. It gives you the passion to go and do that.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, you said we get to leave and go have some fun. Can we go leave and have some fun?
Let's have some fun.
Okay, let's do it. Thanks.